as y'all know, we've got a great opportunity, being a very good bowl game at the Champs Bowl in Orlando. Looking forward to the matchup. It's one of the, will be one of the great matchups this year in the bowl picture. I could see this coming about 6 weeks ago, and knew it was going to translate into this. I kind of felt this about 6 weeks ago. That was my call, no matter what. And I think it's a smart thing to do. I think Orlando's a great venue. I think it's a great bowl. I think it's a great town. Great matchup with this, and I think you ought to get a lot of attention. Obviously the stadium's already sold out. Big deal, and we're very fortunate and very glad to be there, and look forward to the opportunity. Notre Dame was a very good team, coached very well, had a good solid season, got some very good young players and old players, and coached very well, do all the right things, and I'll be a matchup of two good football teams that have an opportunity to extend their season, have a little bit better season going into the off season. So that'd be a great opportunity. Question?
Coach, did you learn anything from your bowl preparation last year, first time as a head coach, that maybe you will or won't do this time around?
No, about the same. We'll do the same thing. I've been very fortunate to be around some very successful guys in bowls. Coach Bowden, preparation from years ago is what we used to use at Auburn. Coach Saban was very similar, and we had we did good there. And then with Coach Miles, when I was with him, we were undefeated in bowls. I think with Nick, we lost two. I think we lost. Did we lose one or two?
You lost that crazy Iowa game, right?
Yeah, they did. His last one on that. And Texas beat us 1 year in the Cotton Bowl. They had a great team. It was a great matchup. But our preparation, we played well in those games, prepared well. And the matchups, LSU with Les, we won both of those. And then Coach Bowden's always had a great success record, knowing how to do it. And it's kind of been the way I like to do it too.
Coach Brandon Jenkins and Kenny Shaw, how are they coming along?
Fine.
They're a little banged up.
Should be fine. Everybody should be fine. That's what I like about our schedule and our bowl schedule. They will be should be very healthy. We should be a healthy football team, which is like the bowl season. The season's over. Now you can become a different football team to an extent, depending on how you get guys back or if you've lost guys. So I mean, this is like a second total season. It's not a continuation of your season because you get some chance to get so many guys back, and hopefully with injuries and things. But your team can take a different dynamic in how you play and how you prepare. So hopefully we'll have great preparation.
Did you expect Carlos Williams back?
I doubt it. I doubt Carlos. Carlos actually I think they're going to go back in and put a pin in that wrist, and he should be ready. He'll be ready for spring ball and all that stuff, but I doubt he'll play.
How do you do that? Did he do that on one of the kick coverages?
Just one of the hits, and he didn't realize he did it come off, and afterwards started hurting. You know what I mean? Look down.
Like Scooter.
Yeah, it happens. I hate to say it, half your injuries in football, probably half the time guys don't even realize they hurt them or pull muscles or do things until the next day when you wake up or an hour later or something. You know what I mean? It happens like that so many times. You get so caught up in the motion of the game, the adrenaline, all that type of stuff. Unless it's a really nasty one at the point.
Have you do you start watching film on them yet, or
Oh yeah,
you already started?
I already started while I'm off because I'm not on the road the days I'm not, and we'll take computers with us to always watch film and make yourself aware and take the time to prepare and really study and put in the time. And, I've watched some tape. They're a good, solid football team. Very good football team.
Coach, I imagine one of the guys that caught your eye was Floyd. Can you talk about how
Yeah.
good he is there?
He's a really good player. I think he's got 95 balls, got 8 touchdowns. Their tight end, Efert's a really good player too now. That's the guy too, is a big-time guy. You don't hear as much about him. He's 6'6", 250. He's got 57 catches. I mean, they throw it around a bunch, and he's got 5 touchdowns. But Floyd and Efert are definitely their two big weapons on offense. Those two guys are very good players.
Have you seen an offense or played against an offense this year that resembles anything that Notre Dame does?
Oh yeah, a bunch. I mean, everybody's spread 11, 10, throwing it, and run the zone, run the trap. I mean, very similar. I mean, I think they've really made a lot of headway on its defense. They're playing very well on defense. Going to give up 21 points a game. They're a big physical up front team and play very well. So I mean, they'll be a good challenge both ways.
And they're real close to being about 10-2 or 11-1. I mean, if they
They're
didn't
like
turn
us.
the ball over.
They're like us, turnovers, and well, not turnovers, but that's one thing we didn't do. But play here, play there, be 10-2.
But
That's the way most teams. You go back to how many teams are 11-1. Make the play in the game. I mean, they're good for. They're talented. They're well coached. They're sound. Just a matter didn't make a play at the right time, the right place. You know what I mean? In certain situations, very much like us, and that's a due to the difference. The teams are 8-4, 11-2. The teams that find a way to make that play or whatever, but they're a good team.
Jimbo, in many ways, this game's been characterized pretty much what you just said as two teams that had disappointing seasons. Is that a fair assessment?
No, I'm not disappointed. I like our team, our growth of our team, the maturity of our team, disappointed in some of the outcomes, but I'm not disappointed in our team. I think our team may have grown more this year than we did last year. As a come around, I think we learned some valuable lessons about y'all, about fans, about people, about situations, and I think it will help us grow in the future. About how you have to build that circle and how tight it has to be and what it has to mean and how hard it is to win championships. You don't win them just because they put you up there. I think our team may have grown as much this year as it has all of the year before from wins, and very mature and very happy with how they've handled all the situations. That's the thing I liked. And but disappointed in some outcomes, yes. But where you want to be, not totally. But like I say, your root system has to be strong, and that's what I think we put in the ground this year. I'm very proud of that, and really like the when you don't ever know how adversity hits kids. That doesn't build character. It does later. It reveals it, and I really like what it revealed this year and the way our team handled everything.
When you talk about they've learned a lot about, you referring to the media, to the fans, what can you?
Trust factor. It's all fair weather. I mean, who acts? I mean, are they really interested in you winning? Are they interested in you? Are you writing a story? You guys are interested in writing a story, and I understand that's your business. You got to sell papers, you got to sell subscriptions, whatever it is, and they got to understand how much they let people like media in and what they expose themselves to. When it's all good, it's great, but when it's bad, it can be just as bad the other way. And I think that's a valuable lesson you have to learn as a young athlete, because we live in utopia. Just like in recruiting, we build them up, we do all that, and you guys are all great for them. But in the end, your job is to sell papers or whatever it is, and they have to understand that. And I think that's a very valuable lesson. I think it's a maturity factor that has to go into how you deal with playing big-time athletics. I think it's a crucial point in how you deal with it. And I think you have to get exposed to it. And there's not just everybody's business. You're doing your business. They got to understand they got a business. And that's to win football games and to handle it, and not their job ain't to sell you papers. Their job is to win football games and get an education and get a career.
In part, are you referencing being picked so high in the preseason by the media? Was that?
No, I don't think it was bad at all. I think if you look at the reasons things happen, why did they happen? As a coach, that's what you look at. Why did they happen? Not that they happen. Things happen all the time in life, but why is the key reason. We understand why. We understand the issues. We understand the problems. And they're all very fixable and doable. And you can handle that. And I think that's something they had to realize. And that, that's part of the game. That's part of the business. This is a business. It's not a game. It's a business. Lives change on it. And they have to understand that. And I think the way they responded to all that and the way they handled it, I think was tremendous. Tremendous. They learned some valuable lessons. I think will propel us to the future.
When was the moment where you detected that they did kind of learn all that?
The way they reacted every week. Until you're faced with it. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're going to do till bad adversity hits you. No one does. We think we know how we handle things, but how do you really handle them when they hit? That's what you're measured by. And I think that's when adversity hit early in the season. That's why I was proud. That's when I said I come in here after the Wake Forest game. I was very content with the way we hit the field. I knew we'd have a very successful season, finish the season out well. By the way they hit the practice field, the way they handled themselves, the questions they asked, the things they said. I knew it right after that we would finish the season strong. And I was very proud of the way they did that. You don't ever know till you're faced with it. Nobody does. I mean, nobody in any situation. And that's because you don't know till you're put in those situations.
How much of bowl practices do you go back to fundamentals or fixing?
Right off the bat, the first 4 is huge. First 4 or 5 right here would be huge. I mean, we go back to a lot of individual periods, a lot of going back to the blocking, the tackling, the angles, the steps. I mean, you do it during the season, but I mean, you'll really be like a two-a-day focus. You know what I mean? Early in bowl practice. I think that's where a lot of your young guys can even get better. This is, I mean, you get 12 to 15 practice, almost like getting another spring in the first part, because you can game plan too early. Because if you game plan too early, I mean, it gets old doing the same thing over and over and over. And we gotta get better. Then we got to game plan. Then we got to polish.
Obviously, you got a lot of guys.
Kind of break it in 3 phases. That's how we have to do it.
You have a lot of young guys that play anyway, but is there a concerted effort to get young guys a lot of reps during this?
Well, no, there'll be a concerted effort to get them all better. But they, I think the other thing, when you play so many young guys at the end of that season, I don't think they realize there's always that freshman wall you hear people talk about. They hit it. The guys who play. I mean, man, I didn't realize. I mean, they've used to playing that many games, but they haven't used to the preparation, how you got to prepare during the week to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where that mental stress, not physical, it's a mental strain on young players that you get too far. And I think something when them guys get to that they got to push through that. And now they're probably rested. They can come back and be fundamentally and hopefully not make some of the mistakes that they've made before and be able to get better.
Coach, sort of along those same lines, you mentioned that the bowl game is sort of its own season. Can you maybe have one eye on 2012, getting ready for this game, or is the goal strictly to win the game?
No, the goal is to win the game. The goal is to win the game because I think, for your seniors and everybody you have, it's about the kids and the kids on this team. You have to understand, after this year, this team dies. Team only has, your life expectancy for a team is 1 year. That group of guys is never together ever again. You got to understand that. Every team has a 1 year life expectancy. That's it. After every year, that team is never the same. That's why you always say, well, it's not the same. The dynamic of it, the family of it, the people in it, every team, after every year, it's when it's born on January 1st, it has a 1 year life expectancy to the end of the bowl game. After that, it's not the same. It's not the same guys. It never is. The dynamic of it, the relationships of it, the personalities of it, you know what I mean? So it's important that, this team fulfills its life. And that's by playing a good bowl game. And can some of that with hopefully the guys that are into the program next year, can they get better and reflect and hopefully grow so that team next year can learn valuable lessons from this team? Yes. That's what you're part of it. But your team, the idea is to let this team live its full life. And that's to play a great bowl game.
Jimbo, how's EJ's shoulder holding up these last few games, and
Good.
how important is it that these 3 or 4 weeks to be able to?
It's good. I mean, he's fine. His shoulder's been fine.
But how will playing in Florida, does that help in recruiting just because you'll be based here and you're...
I think that to a point gets overrated. I really do. I mean, because most of your guys have already made their mind up. And the guys you're in it with are down to the last 2 or 3 guys.
I'm speaking more to like 2013 and beyond, just because you have...
I think it helps. But I mean, with TV and internet, and like the war chants of the world and all that, it's the dynamic of that, the old reasons for doing things, the world's changed. It's not a regional world anymore. It's not even a national world, it's a global world. The internet, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the accounts, all that stuff has changed. Our TV, tell me a game you can't watch. Tell me a team you can't watch in this country. Whatever level. And that's great. I don't know if those impact things as much as we used to be because of back then. To travel to Atlanta from Orlando years ago was a major deal. Now it's, you go to China and back. I don't think those issues are the same as they used to be years ago. Now, does it hurt? No, because you're in a home base. If they ever want to come, and if practice opens to the public, they want to come watch a practice or players or whatever that is, whatever your rules are. I don't think that hurts, but I don't think it has the same impact. It's funny, we all cliche everything and certain questions stay within your realm of things, but as this thing changes, it's drastically changing how you have to deal with things.
Jimbo, have any of your assistants been contacted by any other schools about head coaching jobs?
Nope. Not one.
But you have to admit the job that Coach Stoops in particular has done this year would make him a
I hope
likely
so.
candidate
I hope so.
or down the road.
I want him to be.
Yeah.
Just like I want him to be. I'm not against that. I'm for that. I think change is good and opportunity is good. That's why you're in this business. I'm not a guy who would ever block a guy from doing that. Because you know what? That means the next guy gets his job. You get the next great coach who wants this job because why? You can project him right in. We've got a great group of defensive players. We've recruited a great group of defensive players. We're going to be a great defensive team before anything else. That's what I want to establish as a head coach. That's my belief. So the guy who's a defense coordinator is going to have good players. He's going to be able to coach well, and he'll be able to move from here. So that makes you attractive for the next guy to come in. It's not that we want Mark to leave, but I don't mind it because that means you're having success and doing things right. I'm a firm believer in that.
Are you surprised he hasn't been contacted?
No, not really. It's when you go get guys. It's easier to get a pro job than it is a college job. You got to impress one guy, either the GM or the owner. In college, you got the board of trustees, you got the president, you got the boosters, and you got a couple other boosters. Then you got the media who, if they don't like them, they start chastising them in the. Seriously, you got about 5 different factions of things that you got to deal with. It's much easier to get a head job in pro ball if you have success as a coach than it is college because there's so many other political issues in what you got to deal with. And is he a good recruiter? Is he only a coach? in ball and pro ball you coach. College ball is much more complicated, much more issues dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to make sure is it the right job. That's why I waited so long. Could have been a head coach before this. Object ain't to be the youngest, be the oldest. Or until you don't want to do it anymore. And you got to get in the right situation. I mean, so I think it's a much easier deal in pro ball than it's college ball.
Jimbo, the offense on a slump at the end of the year, I mean,
Yeah, we didn't block well. We lost our rhythm. Played super, averaged 36 points a game for 9.5 games. Played super. And dealt with losing 5 offensive linemen. Your starting tailback. Your best receiver going into camp. Then actually your second best tailback, 38, who was hurt half a year. Lost your quarterback for 3 games. Lost Burt Reed for what? 4 games? Then Rashad Green became the next outstanding freshman, was fixing to break every freshman record. He's out for 5 games. So, I mean, when you talk about the adversity you faced on offense, that's why I was very happy. At the end, I think the attrition of not having guys at depth and reps and the physical pounding, and we were really beat up at the end of the year. It's not an excuse, that's a fact. And at the end, we didn't block some guys. In the Virginia game, we had we moved the ball up and down the field. Had key penalties or missed a block at the wrong situation. Miami, we didn't block. The first quarter, they had us pinned back, and we had a young center in there who struggled with playing Miami. Once we got Stork back in the game for the next second, third quarter, fourth quarter, we moved the ball and did well. And then the last game, we just didn't block well. We didn't block the interior guys very well. And the way the game was going, the object as a head coach is to win it. And I knew they weren't going to be able to score. Didn't think they could. And we had the best punter and the best returner. So, play the game. And we lost rhythm, and it's easy to lose rhythm. And did not play up to our potential. But that's why I was happy. You see, in other teams we've been here, you see finger pointing, you see this, like at the early games, beginning of the year, when we give up 35 points in back-to-back games. I mean, think about that. You give up 35. As well as we played at the end, we gave up 35 in 2 games in the beginning. Could have won 2 of them 37-35, could have won 2 of them 16-13. That's why I love this team. It stayed together, it bonded, whatever it was. But offensively, we're getting to find another niche and get back in the rhythm and hopefully get back to fundamentals and get some guys healed up and put a hat on a hat when we need to.
When you look at Notre Dame's front seven, especially Mayo, they're going to be a good test for them.
Well, they are, but Lewis Nick's inside. Has a big old body inside his nose from down here in Jacksonville. Big 330-pound guy is a really good player. Lynch is starting as a freshman. Mateo has a good job. They do a good job. They play Okie. They play 4 down. They stem. They move around. They're defensively. They've played very well. They're a good defensive football team. Like I say, give up 21 points a game, and they're about 30th. Around a little over 300 yards a game. Done a good job on defense. Very good job.
Coach, you said you wouldn't want to step in the way of an assistant with a chance to move up. But what about a player? When you got a youngster like Brandon, who presumably has a...
If he's in the first round, I'd kick him right out the door.
I'm saying, when does conversations start? I mean,
we already had
this is possible.
We've already had him. We're getting evaluated. But there's also not. You guys, by whose standards, yours or NFL's, you better be careful writing all that. I'm serious.
It's not my standard.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to get the worst thing that happens to these kids now. They get misinformation. One, the agent's trying to make money off of them. Somebody else is trying to do something on them. The mentor's trying to make money on whoever's in charge. I mean, you got to have good, strong. Right now, you better trust the people in that tight. Talk about making a tight circle, which I think is a valuable lesson. And recruiting it happens. How many times you guys see it in recruiting? You deal with them. Gene, you deal with all that stuff on recruiting. I mean, when that circle gets broke, and you listen to people outside, you don't know who the true circle is. When you get bad information, it's like the National Enquirer. When you get good information, it's great because it's all speculation. And everybody tells them what they want to hear, and they want it for their own good. Well, everybody's trying to make $1 off these kids now. The thing they got to remember, they're the commodity. They're the reason. Now, what are my reasons for leaving? Do I want to? How do I want to? What's my standard? Where's my things at? You got to have your things, your goals, what I want out of this draft. You know what I mean? And they better listen to the people who've been there the whole time, because now it's about money. And when money gets involved, there's no values in anything that goes on. And that's why we're going to find the best information for them, where they go, what they do. I've been involved with this many times. Had many guys do it. And many guys stay. It just depends on what the right information is at the time so they can make the best decision. And I'm a believer, and people don't want to hear this, if they're a first-round draft pick, they should go. They should go. I'm a believer in it. Unless there's a different reason, and that's your own individual reason. Peyton Manning didn't do it. You see guys do it all the time. I mean, there's individuals, but I'm a believer. I'm not going to sit here as a coach and try to talk you into staying. where you can financially set yourself and you can come back and finish your education. Because understand something, we missed this point. We want an education, we want a commitment. That's right. But God has also blessed you with a gift too, physically. That it's your job to maximize that and take it as far as it can take it too. Because that can open up a ton of doors. You can get an education. And he's been a tremendous ambassador for us. He's been a great guy. And that does nothing but help our school. I am for that 100% if it's up there in their standards of what they should do. If not, I think you should come back, finish your education, and do your deal. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that about the other, but there's two things to this: being a great person, get a great education, you have physical gifts. God's blessed you on that too. And how you tell a guy come back and he breaks his ankle, he never plays again, or he doesn't have as good a year and loses $1.5 million because of injury. They don't draft him as high. I mean, he has a half a year. Are you going to take that hit? Are the fans going to take that hit for wanting him to stay? I understand why they want it, for their own selfish reasons. That's what we got to remember. They got to understand it's a business. What's the best decision for them? And if those guys are there, we have quite a few guys that'll find out where they're at in the draft. And I think it's good also to find out where you're at and what they think of you. How much, because where you think you are and what they think you are can be two different animals. Where you could get drafted. I think it's good for all those juniors to at least ask.
Have any asked?
Yeah, a lot of them have. They will. We had probably 18 last year that filed for that, something like that.
We did like the entire class last year.
Yeah, the entire class does.
How does it work? Is it the evaluation committee or
Yeah,
something?
they have a committee and they go watch your film and a lot of gyms and stuff like that, and they evaluate you.
And they'll say surefire first round.
Well, they'll say you have a chance to be third round or above, or possibly first round, or you could get drafted, or you may not be drafted.
Right.
You know what I mean? They'll give you those scenarios where you're at, so you can have the right information to make a good choice.
Jimbo, how do you just sit down with the guys? How do you handle it from your
I
end?
do. I try to get guys that I know in the business, that I trust, that are good guys at that high level, give me honest opinions on them, and I sit down with them and their families and present that to them. Well, along with that, this is what they think. This is where they think. This is what they think. Now, what do you want? Where do you go? Because to try to help them make an educated choice. And I have no dog in the hunt. I really don't. I mean, I do not believe, if that's what that family wants to do, to stand in their way. Now, if I disagree, I would voice that to them. But it's their choice. It's their son. It's their family. They have to make it. And the key to me is education. Get the best information you can get. It's like when you make a choice in your life, you got to have all the information where you can make a choice. And you got to get as much as you can. And I think hiding is the worst thing you can do. And they got to trust. Hopefully our kids trust. And one thing that they ought to know, I don't lie to them. I might always like what I got to say or how I got to say it. But I ain't going to lie. And I ain't going to do that now. If that was my son, how would I want him treated? That's the way it goes.
Do you think Sean Jimbo will be one of those unusual punters that does actually get drafted?
I think he's that kind of weapon, but I think you're asking the wrong guy. I mean, it depends. To me, it goes back to what that team needs, where they at, are they comfortable in every other position, to be able to do that, and who else they have or what else is out there. It's not just about Sean to me in the end. It gets back to, all right, is this guy close to Sean? We got him, or we can get this guy, and we got to put more money in a receiver or a tight end. I think every circumstance for a team is what makes those kicking situations, different. And from that seems to me, and I don't know. I hope he does. I've said this from the beginning of the year. You've heard me say our kickers and what we do. He's been as big a way. You want to talk about great defense? Why you play great defense? When the other team starts inside their 20, or you're kicking it off your goal line, they're not starting at the 35. They're starting it across the 50. I don't mean that as any knock on our defense, but those things have as big a reason for it as anything. Then your defense can hold, and you get the ball back on offense, and you punt it back again sometimes. Sometimes you play to your strength. One of our strengths of our team is our kicking game. And I'm not scared to play to that. Because in the end, it's not about leading the country in offense. It's not about leading it in defense. It's about winning games. And we've had our share of letting them get away, but what your strengths of your team are. And he is definitely as strong a part of our team as anything.
Did you see that he was named an All-American yesterday by one of the...
Yeah, I heard that. I'm glad. I'm very happy for him. As I said he was. Like I say, heck, the guy, talk about offense, he couldn't even qualify to be the leading punter. Up until the last two games. You know what I'm saying? See, that's the thing we get caught up too. I say, is average for offense, defense, and special teams as important as the mean? Y'all had statistics? You know the difference between average and the mean? I don't mean that as a... I'm serious. I mean, you can make averages turn out to be anything you want, whether you lead or what you don't. To me, the key is the mean. That's week in, week out. That's the key of the drill. It ain't whether what your average is at the end of the year. That does not mean diddly to me. It's the goals in which you hit within those parameters every week. That shows the consistency, and that's how you win. I mean, that's how you win games.
Coach, back to you talked about not having a dog in the fight when you're dealing with a guy going. Does all the young talent and the depth that you have help you not have a dog in the fight because you can absorb it well?
Each individual, no, has nothing to do with that. Each individual is special. Each individual do the right thing for the right guy at the right time. And hopefully those young guys in the pack can see that that's what happens when it's their turn. You know what I'm saying? And you know, some of your best recruiting jobs or best things you do is make sure you get the right information to the guys on your team. Because you may have talent, but that don't buy what's Darryl Waltrip, that don't buy experience. You know what I mean? That don't buy experience. You know what I mean? That makes a big difference in what you're doing. And those guys have been out there and done it and played on the field. But those young guys, that's, you know, it helps to have them, but it's great to have. That's why you have to build. That's why we're trying to get back to, right now we got a good team. Right, about another year we can start to become a program again. That's where I think it's important that you become a program because you can absorb things that happen to you throughout a year, throughout that, because you get enough, not only enough depth, but enough guys that have played enough ball, like we rotated in the defensive line this year. You know what I mean? Even though you had started, you had 4 starters. You know what I'm saying? And then on offense, when we get some more guys back, we can build that. And then that's how you absorb those injuries and those situations that happen. Become a program again. And we're very close to that.